All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining my session today. This session is on next-gen gamification. I'm so excited to talk to you about this because I just love games and gamification. Couple things before I get into this, just because I know that we're probably waiting for a few people to join. If you're interested, right after this, we are going to be in the expo hall. So come by and check out the game agency and we can answer any questions. If you go into the left navigation of the DevLearn app, there's also a tech demo section. And I have a video recorded in there that talks about Arcades, which is a gamification platform. So you could go in there and check that out as well. Hopefully some of you got a chance to catch Stephen Baer's presentation on Monday. He's one of our founders and managing partners, which was on games. And today we're going to dig a little bit deeper into next-gen gamification. So let me introduce myself. I'm Jamie McDonald. Great to be here. I'm in Stamford, Connecticut. I'm the EVP of Customer Success for the game agency and the Training Arcade. And then this is just a quick snapshot of our three partners. Our partners came from Atari and other game publishing companies. So we are all about games and fun. We were founded in 2007 and predominantly we are game developers. So we build out custom game solutions for training and education. That could be anything from a game-based training app, a simulation. It could be a game for education, for patients, for doctors. We also have a platform called the Training Arcade. It is I call it a GIY, a game it yourself authoring tool. It allows you to build your own games very quickly with your own content and push those games out to your learners absolutely anywhere. They're SCORM compliant, so you could put them in your LMS. You can embed a game link directly into a course. You can email game links to people. You can use them on your virtual meetings through Zoom and whatnot to make your learning more fun and interactive, live events and so forth. One of the games we have, so there's 9 games in our platform. One of them happens to be Jeopardy. It's the only licensed IP that we have. I know there's lots of Jeopardy games out there, but we have the only official rights to the Jeopardy brand. So it's really authentic and fun. And then what we're here to talk about today is gamification. So within our Training Arcade platform, we have arcades, which I'm going to get into. So let's first talk about games. Why games? Because games are really, really important. They really make a huge impact on the learning. Overall, the first things first is that games are fun, right? They drive that extra layer of engagement that most of the time training needs. And because people are having fun, they tend to be able to improve their performance, their productivity, and hopefully that means the ROI for your business as well. In today's day and age, when everyone is having Zoom fatigue and on so many webinars, you need to find ways to engage people more and turn a virtual meeting into a more interactive experience, which games can provide. They also provide a ton of rich data. So data is super key. You want to understand what's working, what's not, who understands what, where the biggest gaps in the learning and be able to measure the effectiveness. And then also be able to have flexibility with integrating games into wherever you are. And also being able to have people play those games on any device, right? Our games are mobile friendly. They work on, laptops, desktops, tablets, etc. People are on their devices. So you want to be able to capture them where they are. You want to turn your trainers into heroes. And of course, it's all about the 3 C's, connecting people, getting them to collaborate, and of course, competing, which ties into the gamification. So we're going to talk about why games are essential. I'll dig into that a little bit more. How you can take games and learning to the next level with all those competitive things and the motivational elements that really are what gamification is all about. I'll quickly touch on intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, and then we'll dig into data at the end about measuring success. So, right now we're all working from home, or most of us are working from home still, and we're distracted, right? We've got the dogs coming into the office when we're on a call, or they're barking, the cat's jumping across your laptop, your kids are coming in because they're hungry. But there's other, distractions, right? Mobile phones, your social media, texting, being pulled into so many different directions. So what do you do to stimulate your audience and really keep them coming back? Games provide that layer that allows you to really keep people's attention, keep them focused, and overall, it's going to drive their improvement. 50% of employees are millennials, right? They are on their phones all the time, but they're really anxious about what's going on with COVID. Because they're not in the office and they're not face-to-face with their, employers, they're not really connected with them, and they're challenged with communicating with the other employees on their team. So we got to find ways to get them to be more connected. I always like to say that games and brains are the perfect marriage. Games provide an opportunity for people to have fun, but also fail safely, right? So if they play a game and they get a question wrong, it's really no big deal. They'll have another opportunity to either click that play again button and try to improve their score the next time. Or in some games, maybe the question will come back around again because they got it wrong and they'll get another chance to answer. what that's doing is it's reinforcing their knowledge, and overall it's going to, spike that attention and retention. So there's two types of play. There's game-based learning, or I like to call it GBL, and then there's gamification. So let's talk about game-based learning for a second. Games, so a lot of people tend to get confused between what games and gamification are. Games are the vehicle that actually provides the learner with the content and drives that desired behavior change that you're looking for, whatever the learning outcome is. It's the physical experience of them playing a game, interacting with your specific content as they're proceeding through the game. And of course, I mentioned before, that option for them to fail safely and keep trying and trying until they really drive that content into their long-term memory. The key, though, with games is that you really want to make sure you're picking the right game type. There are lots of different games. There's so many different games out there. This is just a quick snapshot of some of the games that we have in our platform. And as you can see here, there's a variety, right? So there's a detective game that we have. Detective is all about problem solving, where you're presenting somebody with a case or multiple case files and then some evidence and suspects, and they have to kind of link different pieces of information to solve their case. There's a scenarios game, which is all about branching. This is great for soft skills training or, any kind of sales training, customer service. How do you overcome objections? How do you learn how to navigate through a difficult conversation? So, your decision making will send you down different branching paths. There's games like Recall, which are all about memorization or, identification, where you maybe watch a video or look at an image and then it disappears. And the goal is that you need to remember what you saw. There's sorted games, which is all about categorization, scramble, puzzle games. Of course, there's Jeopardy, which is, a very familiar game to people that allow you to quiz them on different topics. So there's a lot of different things that you can do, but the key is really trying to find what's the right game mechanic that's going to map to your performance objectives. Now we're going to get into gamification. So this is where you take games and then you take it to the next level. You bring in all those different gamification motivational factors that get people excited. They're going to earn points. There's going to be leaderboards, achievements they can earn. There's progress bars and so forth. Intrinsic and extrinsic. So intrinsic is the motivation that people have when they are participating in a particular activity, but there's not an external benefit for them doing it. Maybe it's that, they want to beat their personal record or something like that, but it's more about internal. Then there's the extrinsic, which is more about people doing something because they know that there's going to be an outcome or a prize or, something like that. They're going to grow higher up on the leaderboard at the end of the experience that they're having. So what are some tactics that you can do? So first and foremost, there's solo play, right? People are trying to beat their personal best. If anyone has ever ridden a Peloton bike, you know that each time you go in there, you're trying to go faster than you did the last time. You're trying to come in 3 days in a row, 10 days in a row, 4 months in a row. You're trying to get better and better in a solo experience. Then there's head to head. This is the opportunity for you to maybe pick a colleague, or maybe it's the boss and you go head to head and you try to see who can get a higher score in the game or higher up on the leaderboard. And then, of course, there's team play. This is the opportunity for you to have people work together. They're collaborating. There's peer motivation. Hopefully that they've joined a team and they're going to beat the other team next to them. So it's about people working together in order to, get to the final outcome. So a few different things that come into play with gamification. And I'm going to show you guys what arcades looks like, because this will tie it all together in just a minute. But two of the big key elements of gamification are, points and leaderboards, right? You can earn points for playing individual games, but you can also earn points that kind of bring together your scores or points that you earn across different activities. It's not just, hey, play a game and here's your points and your score and the leaderboard for one game. It's let's tie what I've done across all these different activities together into one, overall points or overall leaderboard, where you can accumulate those points over time from individual games. It could be courses too. It doesn't just have to be games. It could be, maybe it's a PDF or a SCORM package, a storyline course or a video you want them to watch. All of those things allow people to earn points for doing them, and it adds up together and, get their name shiny in lights. But the goal, as you can see here, I've underlined, is get them to come back repeatedly. The more motivated they are to come back and improve their score and get higher up in the leaderboard and earn more points, the more time they're spending with your content, and therefore they're going to keep coming back, more and more. And hopefully that content is going to stick into their long-term memory. That's the ultimate goal. And then there's achievements and badges. So again, back to the Peloton riders, the more times you've been in there, the more achievements you earn and the badges that you're rewarded. It's all about getting motivated because you're excited to kind of get to the next level and the next level and so forth. You want to beat your personal records, and you get really, really excited about that. Head-to-head challenges, as I mentioned, you don't need to play games alone. In fact, right now in the state that we're all in this pandemic, it's more fun to play with colleagues. It keeps you connected. So why play alone? So this is the opportunity for you to, even if you're not challenging someone and playing with them at the exact same moment, play a game and then let them play a game when it suits them, but see who can actually beat each other. You know, it's all about getting people to be more social, and especially salespeople, of course, you know, they're really competitive by nature. You could do this virtually. You could do it on breakout sessions on a Zoom call or whatever platform you guys use, or you can do it as a big group playing together. And then team play. So this is where you could get, you know, perhaps you're trying to teach your organization about the life cycle of your business. And maybe you tie people from different pieces, different departments, and put them together into groups and have them play together. However you break them up into groups, they can learn from each other. They can practice, they can nudge each other, they can celebrate each other. You know, if somebody's not doing well in a game, or maybe they haven't been in there in a while, you can kind of use your teammates as a way to get people together. And ultimately your goal as a team is to beat the next team, of course. So I want to share something with you guys, because I know that there's a lot of Zoom fatigue. There's a lot of people who are on webinars and Zoom calls all day long, and they're constantly calling us looking for new ways that they can, you know, find exciting things that they can do to change things up. So one of the things that we do is we have 2 games in our platform, which are Jeopardy and Trivia. Those 2 games have 2 modes. They have a single player mode, and they have what we call virtual instructor mode. Instructor mode is the opportunity for you guys, whether it's through Teams or WebEx or Zoom or whatever video conference platform you guys use, to use the meeting host as the host of the game. They would be, you know, quote unquote, Alex Trebek. They would have a control panel that would allow them to control the game experience. They can call on different people to pick different categories. They can choose when they want to show the leaderboard. They can control the pace of the game. So the way our game works, the slight difference we made in this game is that, you know, in the real game of Jeopardy, 3 people go up to a podium and the first person who buzzes in gets to answer the question, right? So we tweaked it a little bit so that everybody gets to answer every question. It's not just one person, everyone sitting there waiting, it's everyone who answers. And the way the scoring works is based on accuracy and speed. So let's say you had 100 people on a Zoom call playing a Jeopardy game and 90 of them got a question right. The way it works is the person who got it right the fastest would be higher up on the leaderboard. And so you might call on that person next and say, hey, Mary, great job. You answered that last question in 2 seconds. Why don't you pick the next category? And then Mary calls out, great, I want, you know, TV shows for 600 or something like that. So this is a really great way to build community. It makes it really fun. You can see this image on the right here. This is actually our team playing in a company Jeopardy game happy hour. So, you know, please reach out with questions if you want to check that out. There's also learning journeys, right? Learning is not a destination, it's a journey. There are definitely moments that you can just, you know, moments and activities that you can define along the path. So the idea is maybe you create different, a different path for each person. So it could be like, hey, first things first, come in and take this course. Maybe the next thing is I want you to play a Jeopardy game as a follow-up to that course. Then I want you to watch a video and then take a trivia game. You can define the different activities that people can do in a particular order, and you can even gate them. You can make it so that, you know, perhaps they can't move on until they've actually completed and really master the content previously. Or use spaced learning, right? Repeat the content at different intervals so that people are more likely or less likely to forget it because they're kind of repeating that information over time. And then, you know, what a learning journey does is it really creates a structure for them, which a lot of people need. People want that. So use a gamified curriculum, create some sort of structure where they have to go in and complete different activities. And then there's prizing. So this taps into your extrinsic motivation, right? Cash is always king, but there's other kind of things that motivate people. Maybe it's a lunch with the boss. Maybe it's, you know, a company hat or sweatshirt or, you know, a day off or something like that. But you can set different milestones for people to achieve. And it doesn't just have to be, hey, at the end of the game, I'm going to give a prize to one person. You want to think about maybe rewarding people, you know, throughout the year for different periods of time so that you can get them, you know, to continue to be motivated, whether that's individuals or teams. You could even do things in a bracket style or a tournament. So for example, we did a program with AARP a few months ago where they ran a Jeopardy competition over a month period. And in the first 5 days, they posted a Jeopardy game on day 1 and then another Jeopardy game on day 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. At the end of the first 5 days, the people who were at the top 30 of each of the day's leaderboards then went on to compete in a Jeopardy competition. So 150 people played for a grand prize. So there's a lot of fun ways you can break up games. You could start a game where maybe, you know, your entire employee base is playing, and then only maybe the top 30 people who, you know, got to the highest part of the leaderboard that day move on to the second round. And then maybe the top 3 people go on to the final Jeopardy round or something like that, or any of the games. podium style, reward them over time. And the last thing I want to mention before I move over to showing you guys arcades is that data is obviously really key, right? It's not just about, hey, take this course and answer 3 questions so that I know you completed it. It's really understanding everything about each person who played and in aggregate. So, how many times did they play? How much time did they play per session? Did I see an improvement over time in their knowledge from, first session, second session, third session, and so forth? Which questions specifically did they get right or wrong so that I can go back and make sure I go cover up on that information with the person? But when you look at it in aggregate, that's really important too. And especially having real-time data at your fingertips, because let's say you run a training session, an hour-long training session, and right at the end you say, all right, guys, we're going to play a 5 or 10 minute game. They play the game, and then you tell them to go take a 5-minute break. While they're out, you can look at that data and really understand where the gaps are. So when everybody comes back, if you notice that maybe there were 100 people playing a game, let's say, and 70% of them missed a question, that's a big deal. That really shows you that there's some serious gaps in some pieces of the training, whether it's maybe the question wasn't written well or it just wasn't explained well or whatever the case might be. It gives you the opportunity, because you have the data at your fingertips, to go back and review that information directly with those folks. And then I'll mention this quickly, this 1,000 game study that we did. We saw that there was a 64% lift in knowledge retention from the first time someone played a game to the third time. And the reason is because games are fun and they're replayable. And if people fail safely, no big deal, they'll play again and again. So we also found they were spending 6 minutes of their time playing the games on average. So people were coming back 2.9 times. That's about 18 minutes of time that they're coming back on their own free will. How often does a person come to you and say, oh my gosh, I really want to retake your training? They just don't do that. But with a game, they're having fun, they're competing, they're seeing their name grow on the leaderboard. They want to come back over and over again. All right, so, whoops. I'm just going to move on. I'll show you my contact info after. Okay, so I know that we do want to save time for some questions, but let me just show you guys what this is. So earlier in the call, I mentioned that we have a product called the Training Arcade. The Training Arcade, again, is a game it yourself platform. It allows you to build individual games, and then you can push those games out to your learners absolutely anywhere you are. Again, in a SCORM package, embedded in a course, email the links to people, use them on virtual calls. Arcades is a gamification layer that we have built into the Training Arcade. So this is the opportunity for you to actually create this arcade portal, if you will, and house a number of different games. And it doesn't just have to be games. It could be games. It could be your SCORM packages or other games you've built with other tools. It could be a video or PDF. But what's happening inside an arcade is somebody is earning points for everything that they're doing. And there's a lot of fun ways for people to collaborate. So first things first, they log in and you could put your logo here. This is my avatar today, but if I'm bored and I feel like, oh, I want to change my avatar up, I can scroll through a list of avatars here. So let me change it to, I'll change it to this other dog. All right, because I have 2 dogs and I love them. So it shows me that I'm at level 6. Level sets how I'm doing. I'm at about 75% accuracy across everything that I'm doing. And I've earned over 2,236 XP. So XP is your experience points. That's what you earn across all the activities. And you want to grow your XP. And as you grow it, you get higher and higher up on the leaderboard. This will also give you kind of progress on how many challenges you've won or games you've played or the latest achievement that you've earned. If you want to see other achievements, there's 25 at the moment. You'll see the colored ones, the ones I've earned, and the grayed out ones are the ones I haven't earned yet. But the way you earn points is really fun. So first and foremost, you can click a game and play it as a solo experience. So let's say I click this jump game. I could either click play and the game will launch and it'll let me play by myself, or I can click challenge. And if I do that, this could be a scrolling list of hundreds or thousands of your employees. And so each employee could log in and they can pick someone that they want to challenge to go head to head with them. So let's just say I'm going to click Joanne. I know Joanne is in there in the chat right now answering your questions. So Joanne, I'm challenging you. Or I can search by name. When I click on the person I want to challenge, I then click play. And what'll happen is it will launch the game for me to play right then and there. Obviously, I'm not going to do that right now since we're on this presentation, but it would let me play the game at this moment. And then when Joanne has time, she'll see that there was a notification waiting for her to be challenged to go head to head with me. And when it's convenient for her, she'll go in and play. There's each time someone logs in, there's a little bell notification up here so they could go in and they could see any challenges waiting for them. So you can earn points by playing solo games. You can earn points by challenge a colleague to go head to head with you. I'm going to switch over to this other arcade. And I want to show you this one because this has some team games in it too. So a team game is essentially the opportunity for you to join a team. So I could look at this game, this detective game here, and I could play it as a solo game, or I could look at this game. The VS signifies that this is a team game. So let me just click into Jeopardy here. You'll see that when we built this Jeopardy game, we chose to call the teams different departments in your organization, but this could be anything. It could be city, it could be you know, the expertise you have, it could be your country, whatever you want this to be. It could be teams, red, green, blue. So what you would do if you were going to play a team game is you would pick the team that you want to play on, and then you would click launch and you would play, and your score would go towards that team score. So this is the opportunity for you to have teams play against each other. There are also learning journeys in here, like I mentioned before, the opportunity for you to set different activities that you want a person to do. And then there's also prizing. So you'll be able to set milestones for people to achieve prizes at different levels. But, you know, the great thing about the platform is it's web-based, just like the training arcade. All the games you make are web-based. So there's a lot of different ways that you can have your learners access the arcade. You can either SCORM wrap the entire thing and you can load it into your LMS, or you could do direct registration where they have to set up a username and password, or we could do authorized player lists. But the key is that, you know, you could put your own content in here, and you can also have this whole thing live inside your LMS. The other thing you can do is you can create multiple arcades. So maybe you want an arcade just for new hires, for example. You know, you have games built in there, teaching them about some of the early things you want them to know about your business. And only people who are a new hire would have access to an arcade. They could play games and compete against each other. Then if you wanted an arcade that was just for, you know, leadership or management, you could do that. Or you can have an arcade that's just for, you know, let's say the salespeople. So you can have lots of different arcades with different content, and you can use them throughout a period of time. We have a lot of clients who are using this as part of a meeting. So let's say they you know, prior to the meeting, they have some pre-work they want people to do. So they could send out this arcade to their learners with some games in there that are all about games they want them to play before the event starts, to get kind of set the stage for what's going to happen at the meeting. And then when the meeting starts, they can put new games in there, and maybe they have different people compete throughout the event. And at the end of the day, they reward a prize. You could also use arcades post-event, you know, as pull through. Let's put some games in there that remind people about what we taught them during the event, maybe a month or 2 or 3 later, to you know, ensure that that content really is still in their brain. I did want to answer a question. Joanne chatted me that someone was asking about XAPI. So the answer to that is yes, our platform is XAPI ready. So if you wanted to have XAPI rather than SCORM, we can talk about, you know, what are the data parameters that you want to flow directly to your LMS, and we could set all that up for you. So absolutely, we can do that. I know we have 8 minutes left, so I'm going to keep going, but if you know, more questions pop up in the chat, Joanne, let me know. A few things I did want to remind you guys, for anyone who came in late. First of all, there's some polls. If you want to go in and check out our polls, we would love to get some of your feedback. There's also a session evaluation at the end. The other thing I didn't mention, and I should have, I totally forgot, is that I mentioned we had 9 games in our platform. We have a 10th game coming out, and we're super excited to tell you what it is. We got the exclusive rights from Sony for Wheel of Fortune. So we are going in development now to build a Wheel of Fortune game for training. They've already seen our game design and love it. And that should hopefully be out by around January. So that'll be the 10th game launch. And hopefully we'll also make it so that you can use it in a virtual learning environment. After this session, please also come by our expo, because we'll be there to answer questions. You can go into the tech demo side of the app, and you'll see that we have actually a 20-minute demo I recorded of arcades and all about what this is, what this could offer for you guys. And then next week on Wednesday, we'll be in the expo hall, and we're demoing at Demo Fest a project that we created for a healthcare client, which is all about a mystery detective game. But let me do this now. I want to dig into showing you guys the back end of how you create an arcade. So give me 1 second to log in here. All right, here we go. So if any of you are our current subscribers, or you've ever taken a trial of our platform, you will know that this is kind of what the back end of our platform looks like. If you were going to build a new game, you would simply click on New Game, and then you could look through which game you want to build. So let's say we're going to build a Jeopardy game, for example, and you would choose whether you want it to be single player or instructor led. So if you're going to use it at a, you know, on a live virtual meeting, you could do that. And then you do things like you name your game, whatever you name it will populate the URL. You can set timers for questions. You can create a call to action button to drive people from the game back to your website. You can put some messaging in the game. You can set, kind of like what information you want to collect from the learner at the beginning of the game if you want that to populate your analytics and leaderboard. But I'm not here to talk to you about how you build games. I'm here to talk to you about arcades. So to build an arcade, you simply click in arcades and then you click on new arcade. And then all you have to do is you name your arcade and it will populate into the URL, and you determine, all right, well, how do I want to get my learners to access the arcade? So again, it could be through single sign-on or direct registration, and so forth. I'm going to show you an arcade that's already built. So let's go into this one. Okay, so this is what an arcade with our normal standard colors looks like, but I wanted to tell you that you can customize an arcade. So if I click into theme here, I could click on either this color scheme, or I could click on this color scheme, or I could actually go into custom and I could put in my own company colors. You can load in a logo for your business, and you can also load in a background image for the arcade. So let me just show you what that looks like. I'm gonna launch this. Here we go. All right, so now you can see this is very on brand for this particular company. So, if you put more games in here, then you'll be able to scroll down, but you could see that this really changed the look and feel based on what you want things to do to tie into your own company, style guidelines and so forth. Let's go back to here. To put a game into a arcade, you would have already built your games, and then you can simply click into here and you could scroll through all the games that you've built, and then all you have to do is click add. And once you add the game, that game will now appear inside the arcade. You can also do some custom settings. So if you wanted to, well, first of all, you can decide if you want to turn on head-to-head challenges. Do you want to turn on leaderboards? You can put image tiles in here. You could see, you could set your color background, load in an image, but you can have your own images on those game tiles. Or if it was a different game coming that you had built somewhere else, or a SCORM package you want to put in your own tile, you could do that as well. And then over here, this is where you can determine if you want to build a team game. So if you said, you know what, I want my teams to be, let's say, departments. So like I did before, so your departments, you would preset those. So again, if I were saying like my departments are, I want to play for the finance team, or I'm going to play for, HR, I'm going to play for marketing, sales, so forth. That's how you create a team game. It's super easy. And then to upload a SCORM package, you just click here. And then to look at data. So the way the data works in our system, I know we only have 3 minutes left. You can go into our platform to pull data on an individual game, or you can look at it on an arcade. So this is probably a bad example because this arcade hasn't been played, but you could see their overall trends, how many people played, XP earns, how many sessions and challenges and so forth. You can click into players and you can see their rank and what level they're at, how much XP they've earned, completed sessions and so forth. You can export that, you can export sessions. You can also go by activity. So if you'd like, let's say 30 different activities in here, they'd all be listed. You could see what kind of activity they were, how many sessions were completed, number of players, accuracy, and so forth. So we are at 3 minutes left, and I'm just going to look.
We have 2 questions in chat.
Go ahead.
So we have one from Dennis that says, for the training arcade, is there any guidance as to what to take or when, or is it free range and whatever the learner feels like taking?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. So because the platform is a DIY, we leave it up to our subscribers, who are the administrators inside the account, to determine what kind of games they want to build and how they want to push them out to their learners. Sometimes it's a required game. So let's say, for example, you had your admin built 5 games and you had them loaded into your LMS, just like other content they would put in there. If there were certain games that were required for people to play, a game could be a standalone course, if you will, but in the form of a game. So they can really determine if they want that to be something that is, mandatory or just nice to have. Sometimes we have clients who actually will build the same content into a variety of different game types and give the learner an opportunity to pick which game type they like better. Like maybe they want to play a Jeopardy game versus a jump game, or maybe they want to play a trivia game versus a scramble game. So you can also input your content into a variety of different games so that learners can pick and choose what games they like best. So hopefully that answered your question.
And then we have another one that says, will the leaderboards only work if the game is on the arcade, or would leaderboards integrate within SCORM Cloud somehow?
Great question. So that depends on how you're going to do it. So if you have an individual game launched, when you're building out a game, you have the ability to choose 2 things. Number one is, do you want the leaderboard to show up at the end of the game for the person to see? So if it was like a standalone SCORM package, or maybe you just emailed a game link to people and you said, hey, play this at some point today. When they play, they would be able to see the leaderboard at the end of the day. And what's cool about that, or the end of the game, what's cool about that is if they aren't happy with their score or their position on the leaderboard, they'll click play and they can play again and try to beat their score. So that's one way to have a leaderboard for an individual score. If you want a leaderboard that ties multiple games together, then something like arcades could be a really good vehicle for that. Part of the reason we built this layer is because oftentimes we'd have people coming to us saying, hey, we have this one game and then we have this other game, and each of them have their own leaderboards, but how do we get that to tie together? And so that's kind of part of the back-end technology that we created in arcades, lets you tie that together. But we do have APIs and we do have opportunities for you guys to connect do the integrations that you need into the platforms. Like, for example, if you have a meeting app that you guys plan to use for an upcoming, national sales meeting, let's say, we can have it so that these leaderboards or the arcades or individual games can appear inside that app, and we can help you guys figure that out. The platform was built to be really user-friendly, so it does not take a lot of skill or coding to figure out. Occasionally, you may want to bring in your IT teams, like if you want to set up SSO or something, but it should be pretty straightforward for you to have leaderboards work either as a single game leaderboard or kind of tied together in an arcade like this.
Great. So we've wrapped up our time for today, but thank you, Jamie, so much for your presentation. And everyone, there are polls if you wanted to know more information and follow up with Jamie. And also there is a session eval at the bottom of the session description if you'd like to take it. So thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your time and look forward to answering questions later and meeting everyone. Have a good one.